We have another George Zimmerman, Trayvon Martin type case starting in Florida. Alternet has a report on this. We covered this story when it first happened about a year ago, Lewis, and this is the case of Michael Dunn. He's the 45-year-old man who is a he is a white man. He is also a gun collector, and he fired a minimum of 8 shots into a car full of teenagers who had loud music playing. He said that he feared for his life. He thought he was in imminent danger. 2 of those shots that he fired hit and killed 17-year-old Jordan Davis, an African-American teenager. Now, the pretrial hearings are finally starting for this case, and there is going to be an attempt made to use stand your ground. Okay, now stand your ground, of course, was originally thought of as George Zimmerman's defense. It ended up actually not being the basis on which George Zimmerman's defense was carried out. And this is a law for people who don't know that much about the history of these stand your ground laws. The law was originally crafted by the National Rifle Association, a corporate lobbying group that has one concern: increasing the sale of guns. And it was introduced by to the American Legislative Exchange Council, ALEC, which pushed this as a kind of model bill in a number of different states around the country. In Florida in particular, it passed in 2005, and it allows people to use deadly force if they feel threatened, regardless of whether they can safely leave the scene or not. So this is one of the big differences. In many states, self-defense laws clearly state that you must have absolutely no opportunity to retreat or otherwise avoid using deadly force to defend yourself. That stipulation, that requirement, does not exist under stand your ground laws. So, Lewis, this is a case where Dunn says he felt threatened when somebody in the car brandished a shotgun, and then he fired shots from his 9mm and fled the scene. Police found absolutely no weapons in the vehicle, no weapons in the surrounding area. The father of the victim in this case said they had no weapons, they had no drugs. This is yet another test of whether this self-defense statute is going to lead to, again, disproportionate prosecution of African Americans and disproportionate lack of prosecution for those who are committing violent acts against minorities. I'm very interested to see what happens here.
Right. And originally, I have said before that I don't think that it's a certainty that these statutes, these laws, you basically cause more murders, more gun violence. But I really hope that people come to their senses in this case and realize what happened. I mean, if anything, the fact that the guy immediately fled the scene pretty much is proof, if you ask me, of his guilt.
Right. George Zimmerman, although legally speaking, it's not proof, but colloquially speaking, in the court of public opinion, I see what you're saying. We had last time with Trayvon Martin a situation where he was armed with nothing more than Skittles and iced tea. This case is even more absurd, where there was no weapon at all other than the thumping bass line coming from the speakers of the vehicle, Lewis. We're going to follow this one. I don't know if it will get the same type of coverage as the Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman case did, but factually speaking, it is a similar case.
It's similar, but here there were multiple people in the car,
right?
So at least there are witnesses.
That's a good point. We actually have other people who saw what happened here, where one of the biggest areas where George Zimmerman was able to kind of tell whatever story he wanted to tell, be it true or false, was that there were absolutely no witnesses, because the only other witness ended up dead. So we're